what the hell? I'm like, I'm tripping because I'm blinking like you can't really be the spirit of the mushroom.
Yeah.
And then he showed me all of this stuff about mushrooms I didn't know. And then I was sitting there skeptical as can be. And then it started coming across my feed, everything he told me. From the elk in the mushroom to the proboscis monkey in the mushroom, to the psilocybins that lights up the dark cave as fluorescence, right? And I was like, damn, I didn't know none of that stuff before psilocybin told me. And then he like, and then he asked me, he's like, you know why I like the name psilocybin? I was like, no. He said, because it sounds like silly ass Cyrus. I'm like, I'm over here dying laughing, Rich, because he's giving me all of this stuff. But when I start really knowing that it was some real spill, is when my regular feed started showing me everything he told me on the trip. Right? Man. That means that whatever the psilocybin, because he said you can access the information of the psilocybin network. It's the same as the neural network if you have the love for the mushroom, the psilocybin. And one of my favorite things on my pizza is mushrooms. Always have been. I can eat a mushroom pizza with nothing but mushroom, cheese, and sauce. Right? So I always like.
But man, Rob, welcome back to the platform, Rob. Welcome back.
Good to be here, Rich. Good to be here. Today we talk about paper genocide, right?
Yeah. So what? All right. So I wasn't even gonna have this show tonight, family. Originally my intentions was to have another show, but I ended up calling Rod Hayes earlier about something personal. I wanted to ask Rod a question. I was doing ancestry. I was digging up my ancestry, looking up some. I think my sister had looked something up on ancestry.com, one of them sites, and I was looking at the birth certificate of my great grandmother, and my folks is from South Carolina.
Land of the Gullah Geechee.
Yeah. Branchville, South Carolina, and I noticed on the certificate, her husband said colored when it said race, and her race said Negro. So I was talking to my sister. I was like, well, why is it colored and Negro? Why isn't both of them colored or both of them Negro? Why is one? What the hell is the difference in 18 something about colored and Negro? So I called Rod Hayes, and he started chopping it up with me about paper genocide and all of that, and we got into a real good conversation. I was like, Rod, man, we might as well have a show tonight. So that's how we got here, and it's a deep conversation. It's a conversation that is gaining more and more popularity as we remember who we are as it pertains to this land. And Rod Hayes, man, let's have this conversation in front of the people. In terms of, like, I was telling you about the birth certificate, and I was telling you about the Negro and the color, and you was telling me about the paper genocide. What exactly do you mean out there for those who may not be aware?
Well, the paper genocide it's been going on since they've been here, but the reclassification of us on paper to not be native, to not be natural to the land is the goal of the paper genocide. So they did things that changed who we were on paper so that in the future they can say we somebody else. The goal is to disassociate us from the land. We got to keep that at the forefront of our minds when we study in the African slave narrative, the invasion of Europe into the Americas. We got to always keep in front of the forefront of our mind that everything they finna do after 1492 was to make the people from the land mentally, psychologically disassociate from the land. And the side effect of that is you denying your spirituality, your natural spirituality, because your natural spirituality springs from the things that you do on your land. We don't claim the land. We say we belong to this land. The land don't belong to us. That's why we can't sell it. In the paper genocide, they was using war machine to push us back further and further west until they got Spanish pushing back to the east. We got the French stuck in the middle in what we call the Louisiana Territory. That was all of Canada and everything west of Appalachia, east of the Rockies, down into the New Orleans capital of the empire at the time. We didn't do intake on the coast board, the Eastern Coast Board, until after we were fighting what we called a two-tier war, collateral attack of French and Spanish forces. The French was called Huguenots. The Spanish were called conquistadors, but the English was called the gentry. So they went to King George because we was fighting French in the Louisiana Territory, Spanish in the Florida Territory. So what ended up happening was they put Georgia as a military buffer zone of gentry. So they put the English between the Spanish and the French while we were fighting. In order to, but when the French lost, they had to leave. But they sent us back a gift called the Statue of Liberty, a drag queen. Right. So now that they got this military buffer zone, they have to bulldoze the people out of that area to set up their military barricades, which became later cities. Atlanta is ancient. Savannah is ancient. But a lot of the lesser cities throughout Georgia were military outposts before they was incorporated as cities. And that was to put there to stop the assistance in the Gulla Wars of the rest of the tribes that was marching in coming from the West. That's how come they knew how the French lost. So now the English and the Spanish is the only ones left. The Spanish decided to take Mexico, which then consisted of Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, Arizona, and I think Nevada and parts of, I think, Utah. It was one of them, either Utah or Colorado. But they won it in the Mesoamerican War agreement between, now remember, these treaties has nothing to do with us. We didn't sign no treaties with these people. They signing the treaties with each other, the French, the Spanish, and the English. But they telling us that these treaties is the governing instruments of law to our land. These treaties don't have nothing to do with us. There's no little river running because we use names that related to nature. Right? There is no sunset over the mountain. There ain't none of them names in none of the treaties. They got Chief John Smith. Who the hell made him the chief? Because there wasn't no John Smith chiefs over here yet. Because we wasn't using European names yet. So when they doing all of these treaties, so they Mexico ceded the states that we have in the Southwest as part of the treaty to end the Mesoamerican War. France did not cede the Louisiana Territory because they had fought to a stalemate. When they was leaving, they sold it as a protectorate right. Some of the local chiefs signed protectorate agreements with the French. If they don't invade the land, they can protect us from the sea. That was what they were supposed to do. Then they fought for the Port Nola, which became the Fort New Orleans. They fought for that, and that's how they end up having what's called protectorate rights. But that's not right to settle, squat, salvage, pillage, rape, demean people, murder indiscriminately across the land. All of these things they've done since the purchase. They was never supposed to cross the Appalachian Mountains. That's in they record. They know they wasn't never supposed to cross the Appalachians. So everything west of the Appalachians is what we call hostile occupied territory of a foreign agent. America has nothing to do with us. It's all an illusion. It's a grand design to erase us on paper first, but once we believe they hype, we disassociate from the land. That's why they keep pointing us to Africa. See, we took the immigrants in Port Nola. They weren't allowed to come in nowhere. The Big Easy was the sorting ground. This is where your temperament tested. You get sent to a parish. You function in that parish, and this is your temperament. Then they tell you where across the land you can settle, because now they know you ain't got to get your head split by them Bloods and Crips out west, because they gonna send you to the Midwest because your character type, personality, and disposition fit in with Vice Lords and GDs way better than Bloods and Crips, because they gonna get you, right? So a lot of people was directed to what we called in that day Shinnecock territory. Today you know it as New York. That's Shinnecock territory. And they had the Shinnecock Nation consists of varying other tribes that was tied to their leadership in an affiliation of tribes that stretched from Maine all the way to what you call the Great Lakes State, Michigan, where Pennsylvania butts up against, what's that, Lake Huron, I think, or Erie? I keep forgetting. But anyway, the lakes, the all of that territory coming from the Lake Superior in the north, coming down into Lake Huron, all that was Shinnecock territory, but they had tribes. They had Mohawk, Tomahawk. They had all of the names are exonyms. The Mohawk didn't call themselves Mohawk. The people called them Mohawk, and the name began to be written in literature. That's how you know who they are. The Apache didn't call themselves the Apache, but that's what the settlers called them, right? And in those names being who they was recognized at in the reading material that was being disseminated, they have to go by the name that's written on the paper in order for the people that's doing the reading to know who they are. It's just like Cherokee. Cherokee is not a tribal name. It's an exonym, and it was used when we was using English language and dealing with English colonizers, which looked like me. They look more like me than any pale face from Europe. The first settlers that came from Columbus expedition to the Mayflower, to all of those were melanated people. We didn't start getting other people until they started advancing and getting land from us through the sweetheart swindle and murdering big mamas in order to turn family plots into plantations. It's all part of the paper genocide. So that's what the purpose of it is. The purpose of it is to make the people think they from another part of the earth and they have no claim to this part of the earth.
Mm-hmm. You know, I heard years ago, I remember this is, I think Sonetta was filming at this time, and he did a video. It might have been with Dr. Eileen Bay. It was somebody, and the Morris brother was saying that they had to do Hurricane Katrina because they had to give up that land back to I guess the Washita. That they had to get the land back to the Washita or something like that.
They still ain't got it back, so that can't be accurate. But they was trying to build a casino complex in the Ninth Ward, where all the most amount of people left. Mm-hmm. They was mad at them people. It was vengeance. Nobody wanted to give up their little quarter-acre plot with their house on it that their grandmama was living in, and her mama lived in. They didn't want to give it up because that's our culture. That's part of who we is. Once we get a plot of land, you almost got to use a welder to separate us from it. Mm-hmm. You know, so when when they was trying to get the Ninth Ward, they wanted to build a casino complex. That's what that was about. Katrina was about casino money and getting people off the land that, and they end up not using it. There's still a whole lot of vacant territory over there. I think it's called the Ninth Ward, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
But they was planning on building a whole bunch of casinos, like 5 major casinos, and then some hotels and restaurants and stuff. And the people didn't want to sell.
So around what year was they reclassifying people as? Did they start reclassifying people as Negro and colored?
As soon as they start, well, the year wise is subjective because none of those terms, we didn't describe people by skin color. We described them by character, right? We tie them to a totem and ascribe them to a character. Like, for instance, let's say Chief Standing Elk. That means he a stand-up dude and his totem is the elk, right? Chief Little River, right? He's a short dude, but his character flows like the river. This is how we name people. We didn't name people group names or classifications. Professions was named after the people that did the work. All of the Smiths were metal workers. All Smiths on this land they were metal workers, but we didn't call them Smiths. Smiths is a European term for people over there that did the same thing, metal workers. So they came over here, they named this whole family the Smiths. Right. So now all these people were Smiths. But then you had subgroups. You got the goldsmith, you got the blacksmith, right? And that means that the goldsmiths was the ones that was melting down the gold, making the bars. The blacksmith was the ones who wrought the iron and made the fences and the gates that went around the family cemetery plot to keep the kids from playing on the ancestors. Mm-hmm. Right? So stuff like that we did naturally. This is already who we are. The family that was building the bridges, the European come over here and call their tribe the Bridges. Now you got all these people running around like Ty Bridges thinking he from Africa, and then he got some European name, last name Bridges.
Wow, damn. Hey, Ross,
all the time you organic to the land.
What percentage of Africans came to the U.S. versus, let's say, the Caribbean and South America?
That's less than 5%.
That's a small number, right? You
got to remember.
You confident in that number? That's damn 5.
They told us that they brought 30 million niggas from Africa over here to North America in the South. And we was all on the plantations in the South. 30 million niggas from Africa. Them Africans' temperament ain't like that. You not finna put no 30 million Zulu, Dinka, Mandinka. You not finna put no 30 million of them nowhere and have peace. You gonna lose. We was already here and they was makeshifting family farms into plantations. And they was telling the family that worked the yard, worked the farms, they wasn't allowed to leave because there was a war going on.
Right.
That was the great deception. And the Masons got a record of it all. So why won't they bring their ass out and start talking? Old raised and past ass niggas. Hiram told you motherfuckers to get to moving and y'all sitting there acting like that shit ain't true. So you don't even believe the shit you teach. Jabaline, Jubaline, and Job. Man, all of them. They know what's going on. The Mason seal is on the chief's shackles that was ransomed back to the tribe. The Masonic symbol is on that. Them wasn't no slaves, they was ransoms. It's a book called Moors and Masonry that talk about how they was ransoming them back to the tribe. Mm-hmm. The leader, that they capture your leader, and then they realize the dumbest shit in the world is to let them have their leader back. Scatter the shepherd and strike the shepherd and scatter the flock. And
So Man, when we talk about Caucasian people, at this point with the mixing that went on, you was talking to me earlier. You're saying
Man,
that
look, with all of them people that was the offspring of Mr. Charlie and them up in the big house, they done kicked Big Mama out the big house. They done murdered her. Now they got Uncle Charlie running the big house, this house nigga. And now he done hired these hands and he told them they could do whatever they want to them women out there. They ain't none, they ain't no kin to me. They'll sell their own mama. So what you think they're gonna do to our children? They'll sell their own children. So what you think they'll do to our mama? The only thing that got value to them is their brother. Oh, homosexual, pedophile, priest, cut ass niggas.
And who's they? Who's this they you talking about?
The one,
I don't want them to snatch this video, so don't curse too much.
I got you. I call myself. I get a little hyped up talking about them niggas because
I see.
They wrong, man. They so wrong on so many levels. But the problem is they got us fighting now about our status on the land after they done burnt down all of the records in Mississippi and Louisiana and Alabama and Arkansas and Florida and South Carolina. And we have the record of them burning down the records building, and then they tell us you can't trace your ancestry. Because every time I get to this point, it's a burnt down records building. You can't get past that. They done destroyed the records. Damn. Paper genocide. Paper genocide.
Right, who's they? Who's they? Let's be more specific.
Them niggas whose Fez's is in George Washington Masonic Memorial, them the ones we was fighting. Them, that's the leadership of the contingent of dirty Moors that came over here. All of they Fez's, with their names on it or they shrine on it, they had to be identified. We know who they is. And the ones that sided with us is all on the painting of the last Mayan chief. All with right. All of them, and he got like Carlos V. That's King Charles V.
Okay.
But he took sides with us because he was part of kicking them out of Europe.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Rod. Coming up in consciousness, the Moors always talked about John Hanson on the back of the $2 bill. Who's John Hanson, Rod? Whose team he was on? Whose side?
He was the first president of the Continental Congress. The Continental Congress was morphed from tribal leadership into leadership by these blood families that keep being elected president. They all related. They all related. So they was to be the ones to continue what they call the New World. Remember, everybody keep talking about the New World Order. The New World Order started in 1492 when they founded the New World. The order for the New World is to fight for who it belongs to. Do the world belong to the people of the world, or do the world belong to the invaders? That's what this whole thing is, the New World Order. The whole U.S. military paradigm is the New World Order. How else you gonna get your conquered enemies' children to fight your wars with the coldest warfare minds on the planet if they don't believe that you them?
Yeah.
They were never supposed to let us in their military. We fought for that stuff. Why would we fight to be in their military? We needed somebody on the inside, baby. We gotta have a dog in every fight. You gotta expect to win, but you gotta have a dog handler that know his dog well enough to know which one of the dogs was his in the fight. Then he can go back and collect all his money.
Right, right.
Yeah, and the German Shepherd Club, that was my dog over there. Yeah, yeah. His name Redbone Reg. You see that one over there, the pit bull, that blue pit right there? Yeah, that's mine. Yeah, his name is Blue Head Buster. Right, I know my dogs. Wherever the chiefs make a move, a chief gonna be born that know his dog in the fight. Chief Zola, DMX. Tupac Amaru, the same pair as Crooks. Chief Sitting Bull, Notorious B.I.G. Christopher Wallace. Chief Crazy Horse, right? ODB, Wu-Tang Clan, right? I can do this all the way until tomorrow, telling you where I seen all of the chiefs at and what they was telling me in their art, what they was telling me in their lectures. Elijah Muhammad, Clans 13X, Yahweh being Yahweh. They all saying something, just telling the chiefs what to look for to find the imposters on the land. And when Angel Bay was locked up, I knew who it was. When they had to lock Angel Bay up, Jeff Fort, now I know who the enemy is. It ain't no secret no more. Larry Hoover was never Jeff Fort enemy to begin with. Why would they tell the kids on the street that they enemies so that they can make them fight each other? Where your dog at in the fight? They telling us the tribes is gangs, but we don't know gang is just a villainized word for tribe. Because we don't never look words up to find the backstory to the word. They call it etymology.
Rob, what can you tell me about Pascal Beverly Randolph?
They
say you used to go with Lincoln.
I can't tell you a lot about him right now because he's not fresh on my mind. But during that era, a lot of those guys, they wrote about their position in the colonization of this land. You have, like for instance, you won't see a lot of the writings of the Iroquois Confederacy or the Cherokee Confederacy became your Continental Congress when they made an agreement on land distribution with the Iroquois Confederacy, which triggered the financial backlash that caused the Civil War. Was never fought about slavery. Slavery is an after the fact, let's try to tell a story to them this way so that they will believe the narrative that they came from Africa. But now the babies got it. They proving it better than me. I can get out the way and let the babies go now. And they done. Because once the Braves get it, the Chiefs can sit down now and watch this mental fire burn the land, scorch the earth with awakening. Because the babies got it now. I told them when the babies get it, right, the old regime is screwed. The babies got it now. Y'all stuck. The babies got it now. They can't undo it now. Because the thing that they didn't have into consideration was that we was gonna have a record of the history from the time they started telling the lie to down, but we gonna go to the history before they start telling the lie and see how they describe us in a 1700 and 1800 writings versus they 1900 writings. The physical description is us all day long. It only the ones they call the Mongolians when they say that the Seminoles was taking runaway slaves. The Mongolians was the runaway slaves. This what nobody not getting. They thinking that when you're looking at this nappy haired dude on the cover of the book that he the runaway slave. He not the runaway slave. They brought Mongolian, Hun, Vedic slaves with them when they came. They wasn't no pale faces over here yet. When the Seminole Wars struck up, there was no pale. There was only a handful in the Appalachians, and they all had red hair and freckles. We would spot them a mile away, and it came from Ireland. And they wasn't finna help them. They wasn't finna help them do nothing without Big Mama permission. Now we call them hillbillies and po white trash, but they the ones gave us snipers in the armed forces, right? Because they took what they learned from the tribes on how to hunt when the firearm came and began to use it the same way, but with a further reach. And all of this is warfare. White supremacy is a war strategy. It's a war call and a war strategy. White has nothing to do with skin color. That's the description of the families of the royal houses. They used to wear only white.
Mm-hmm.
But when they got infiltrated, the Phoenicians begin to convince them of the purple and the red garments. And then they settled into Europe, and then they came in as Ottomans, and they came in as the Etruscans and settled Italy. And now we thinking that the paleface, it wasn't them. The white man ain't white. He just used to wear white clothes, Jefe Blanco.
Mm-hmm.
They still do it in Mexico. You go around there, you want to know who the big dude is? KS Jefe Blanco. Where he at? They know Jefe Blanco mean the boss because he wear the white suit. They did it in Dukes of Hazzard with Boss Hogg. And they keep making mockery of our ignorance by putting it in movies like the Dukes of Hazzard, putting Boss Hogg in the white suit as the mayor. We know that the mayor is the town mother. So when they put Jefe Blanco there, we know what they're saying. We said we knocked your queen. But she ain't the queen. She's just the mayor of her flock. But we got a big queen, right? They call her the queen bee. Her color's black and gold. She run the money. We don't know this though, because we forget our culture. And then when we start explaining the culture back to those that's been socially indoctrinated and institutionalized with this police state, they believe the narrative that was given in order to separate us from the land and rewrote the history. And this is also part of the paper genocide. When you take the history that was there and then you bend it and you put your name where our name go, and you put somebody else's name where the other person's name go, but you still telling the same story, somebody gonna figure out your lie.
You know,
and that's paper genocide.
You know, you mentioned you mentioned the Seminoles several times. What can you tell us about John Horse? That's a name that we hear a lot. What can you tell us about that brother right there?
He was probably one of the other chiefs down there. But when I study the Seminole Wars, I don't remember all of the names of the most important people because I'm trying to see the event. And the names, a lot of times, I can't go in detail on some of them, especially the ones that was helped. The ones that was hurting us, I could probably run their whole history down. But some of the ones that I already know, well, he harmless, he one of us, he ain't doing, I won't remember his whole backstory. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? But when the time comes, I could tell you when you search the Gulla Wars, and the Seminole Wars is how the Spanish saw the war. They called it the War of the Seminoles. Mm-hmm. Right? Some people say Cimarron, but that's not, it was Seminoles, the half-breeds. And the people from the land call it the Gulla Wars because we was called to fight the wars, the Gulla Wars, by Gullah Geechee Big Mama. And I read that by reading the migration patterns of the people across the land. And then I know when I see a certain amount of tribes deliberately displace themselves from their homeland, we don't leave our home territories unless we fight no war. So when I'm looking back at all of these people was conversion between Louisiana and South Carolina, they all coming south and then they all moving east. Then I'm seeing Hawaiians coming across, they not going where they normally go. Hawaiians used to travel between the Maori Islands, where Tonga, Samoa, all into New Zealand. That was their travel route of normal practice of trade, because they big mamas used to interact. Our big mamas, we dealt with the Central American islands, Hispaniola, Cuba, Jamaica, St. Croix, all of those islands. Our big mamas was do caretaking the trade with them. So when I see Hawaiians floating into Mexico and Southern California and Arizona, and then I'm seeing Samoans and Tongans, and they all coming in, and Big Mama called us to war. I know we don't move like that. We out of character. Because I know my people, I can watch the flow and I know where we going. And then I look at ground zero, Orlando. And then I go study the area and find out about the Gulla Wars. Only way we come into war from that far away is only one person that can call them. And at the time, the big mama that held that rank was Gullah Geechee. And she lived on an island off the coast, I think, of North Carolina. What they call the Gulla Islands. She lived on the island, and she seen them SOBs coming and called us to war, and they didn't have no telephones. Remember that. Ain't no telephone. It ain't none of this dash. It ain't no Morse code. It's spirit. It's spiritual mastery of the self and the understanding of the self. All of the big mamas is hive connected. They connected. They know. They all making their individual moves, but they checking in with each other while they doing it. And when the chiefs of the land, especially a war chief, sit back and look at history, he can say and tell you exactly what happened without knowing damn person name. I'm looking at the migration pattern. And they dumb enough to reprint it because they think we not gonna know how to read ourselves. That means you don't have no knowledge of self. And that's why people like Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, Du Bois, they was all fighting to give you self-knowledge and self-esteem enough to seek further self-knowledge that'll break you out of the trap of inferiority complexes manufactured by your enemy. And we didn't swear to be their enemy. They swore to be ours. We welcomed them in peace, but they came with war. We had open hands and theirs was full of dirt. And they wanted to land. How do we know they wanted to land, Brother Rich? What happened? How did they get Manhattan? What they say happened to give them Manhattan? You remember?
Oh, no. What happened?
They said it was a string of beads, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some other shells. Less than $1.25 worth of actual material. They sold Manhattan. That's BS because we don't sell land. That's how we know that they came for the land, because they was negotiating, trying to get the land. And Chief Pontiac told them, we don't believe in selling land. It's almost every big chief that you look up, tell them we don't believe in selling land. They even tell you about it in their parody movies of us. When they got the Mongolian or the Italian dude acting like he a Native American, asking the colonel, how did you get the land? Did you barter for it? Did you trade for it? I'm already free on this land. Well, all of a sudden I got to start paying you. Who are you? Where you come from? What's your credentials? They not us. They came for war and we handed it back. You know, war does not stay the same. If you don't know what warfare is, then you will never know what a police state is. And when you don't know what a police state is, you don't know what an occupied territory is, then you won't know why we went from common law to admiralty law. It wouldn't make sense. It's going to keep you in a perpetual loop of confusion.
Yeah, you was talking about a little earlier. Wow, Rod been hot. He's been hot this whole for 40 minutes straight, y'all. Damn, shit. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got about 2,700 people in the chat. Oh, man, what a show. What a show. We're talking about the land. We're talking about the soil. We're talking about who we are. We're talking about the lies, the deceit, the narcissism that took place, the shit. I mean, this is a lot. This is a lot that the brothers
leave the sorcery out, because that's how they finally got what's called a state. a ceasefire agreement. Them feds in the George Washington Memorial challenged the chief to a conjure war. That's why they on display. But you don't see none of the feathers on display. So who's being concealed in the conflict? Those Shriners, those 32-degree Scottish Rite Freemasons. They issued a conjure war to the chiefs of the land because they thought their masonry was better than our mastery, and they just had their ass handed to them. Because they found out that in the end, in order to close it out, they had to call the same chief we had to call because they can't close out without it. Because he gonna come and tell you it was a conjure war. It was 50 chiefs playing Phoenix chief in the dark, right? And it was however many phases it is, that's how many of them it was. It's more of them than us, according to Noble Drew Ali. We the many, they the few. But they got great impact on dogma, and we are masters of the morals. We'll be morally correct as we need to be in order to outclass them MFs. It's up for them. They dismantling the corporation in real time as we speak. I done sick my watch doge on them. Everybody think they know what's happening. They don't know what's going on, Rich. They just think they know what's going on. It's over with. The game is over. We won. They lost. Pack your and go. It's over. So Andrew Jackson come in with this Trail of Tears family swap, where they kicked all of our family out in the South. So we had to be adopted in. The old Mississippians adopted in under the Chata, the Chickasaw, Cherokee, and all these other tribal names that they imposed upon us, right? But we still know who we is because the message is in the music for 100 years telling the same story. Strange fruit. Black hand. They don't give a about us.
Shit. Hey, Rod, I ain't gonna lie, man. Me and you, man, we've been going at it with these videos since about 2021 or 2022. I ain't never see you this emotional in the video, brother. I ain't even gonna lie. I ain't never see this emotional.
Because it's to the point now, it's done. They lost. What is they still bitching about? Go on, take your ass to Gitmo, jump on the boat, then stop bitching. Stop crying. Stop trying to stop the process that you can't stop. You ain't Superman. You can't stop this speeding train. It's just not gonna happen. The games is up. It's over.
Yeah.
They should have never involved me if they wanted this to continue on, because I'm gonna tell it like it is, and they ain't gonna like it. And people feelings gonna get hurt because they thought we was Africans, and they African pride gonna be busting their native head. I'm not trying to agitate my people. I'm trying to get them posters off the land. The same thing Tupac was doing, the same thing Eazy-E was doing, the same thing George Clinton was doing, the same thing that Smokey Robinson was doing, right? But we don't pay the artists no attention. That's why you can get more information through art than you can from history, from school. School is designed to mislead you. The artist is designed to tell you the raw and uncut truth, no matter how much you may not like it.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be good to dance to.
Mm-hmm.
The rappers been telling us what's going on in the community the whole time. If you can look at it, we got rap broke up into sections, Rich, don't we?
Yeah.
We got old school rap. What did they talk about in old school rap, Rick?
We
Do you
talking
remember?
about the Public Enemy era? You talking about that era?
No, that's not old school rap. That's new school rap.
What would you call old school rap? What would you?
Anything before 89,
So like
Run DMC, LL Cool J, Houdini,
right.
um, um, Smith and Wesson, Cool G. That era of rap, it was primarily about two things: dancing and getting your knowledge game up.
Right. Right.
It was about social awareness to your surroundings as part of your studies, and they was telling you what to study. Run DMC came out as the kings of rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they first came out on Hard Times. That's when they got national. How do Hard Times start? Hard Times spread just like the flu. Watch out, homeboy, don't let it get you. Prices go up, don't let your pockets go down. He's talking about inflation in the government. He's talking about the hard times Reaganomics is currently creating. He's talking about it in ghetto code. So when the prices go up, don't let your pockets go down. I mean, don't participate in all of the hype that they telling you. Keep getting your money because the inflation, the money gonna lose value and you're gonna need more of it, right? And then you had the dance community. Why did we tell them to dance? Because you can't be miserable and dance and stay miserable. You have to have an outlet for the misery, right? The aggressiveness, what we call breakdancing, dance offs, to burn that off so you can see clearly, because you got to get past the anger in order to be able to strategize. Most of the average brother gets stuck at the anger and he don't know what to do with the anger and he end up doing some dumb shit. But they had break dancers come out, and not only is break dancing battle dancing, but it's also gymnastics. It's teaching you how to flip, right? So then when you learn how to flip, you could flip it off any one of them. It's called passing the baton, right? So then you can look back on history and say who passed the baton and where did they pass it to. It's the culture been telling me the whole story from day one. From day one. Then LL Cool J came out with his radio. What'd he say? My radio, believe me, I like it loud. I'm the man with the box that can rock the crowd. Walking down the street to the hardcore beat while my JVC vibrates the concrete. Why would what is he talking about? We naturally have an attraction like moths to the flame to loud music because we know where the party at. LL is telling us, if you follow me through this party game, I'm going to get you where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's just trying to get you to the breakdancers at this time. But no matter what genre of music it is, they got to always go back to the blues, the old Mississippi Delta blues. So he go back to the blues with, when I'm alone in my room, sometimes my conscience call, right? I need love. That's blues in rap form.
Mm-hmm.
Because he got to go back down to Mississippi to get the code to know what to talk about next in order for us to put the puzzle together through the arts and entertainment, no matter what it is. They can't hide it. It's in the history, but it's in the history before the Rockefeller controlled education system. And you got to read books that's not recommended, preferably books that's banned. Because the banned books got more truth in it than the books that's approved.
Okay, Rod. Since you brought up dancing, you when you came on the scene, you kept talking about crip walking, and in my mind, just me and you at the time, and I'm like, damn, this brother's serious about the spirituality behind crip walking. You kept talking about it. When the Crips started walking, whatever, you kept talking about it. Fast forward 2025, Rod, the most watched Super Bowl of all time, the halftime show of all time, I think the Kendrick Lamar's video, I mean, his performance is at over 70 million now. Crip walking all on the stage. Serena Williams up there crip walking. Because we are who we are, we're walking miniature universes. We have this power within us, and we dancing. What effect did that have on the planet? Us crip walking, the planet seeing crip walking showcase like that. We have a inferiority complex, so a lot of us don't see how powerful that is. But for those who know the spirituality of dancing, what did that do to the planet, Rod? Kendrick Lamar's performance in the crip walking.
The crip walk is walking lightning, Big Tookie. And when he have his whole army crip walking, you can look at the increase in the electromagnetic field around the earth by lightning strikes. Everywhere lightning strikes is because of crip walk, right? Remember when they told you that they had rain dancers?
Yeah.
Yeah, rain dancing is hooper stepping. That's Midwest. That got nothing to do with the West Coast. The West Coast is the fire and the lightning, the Bloods and the Crips. The Crips, the sea walking, patron saint of the handicap, Big Tookie. And those who work with the metal, the Smith clans, right? Then the energy that's being harnessed is literal electricity in the air. And the master Crip walker will set off a lightning storm in 10 different cities while not long after he starts stepping. The bee walkers is going to start sparking fires, but they normally come with the thunder behind the Crips. When they step, bee walk step, they bring the thunder. The Crips bring the lightning. Two of the biggest tribes on the West Coast woke up at the same time. Right? If you look at the original OG Pyru Blood, his name was Puddin. If you look at the original 5% Father God Allah, he was affectionately called Puddin. Right? You got two different things going on two different coasts. They telling you where the proof at. And the proof came up in Detroit. And the proof gave us the pale face dragon, the white dragon, the one that spit the fire, the God flow in the pink face. Because they said we couldn't do it. Right? So now when you go back to the history and you find out that Dr. Dre was actively looking for a pale face spitter because somebody told him to look for a pale face spitter. We need a white dragon. What we need a white dragon for? Because the proof is in the pudding. That means he not really pale face. He got a drop of blood. And he gonna be able to express himself to the tribes, and he gonna be able to cross the bridge from what they call mainstream and underground rap. He come out of the battle rap scene. This ain't no accident. Ain't nothing. Everything is on the script. Everything is on the script. So once you get the proof out the pudding, that was the end of the era of hip hop, what we call the rebellion hip hop, second wave, new generation hip hop. Started in the 90s, like 90, 91. Right? And this is when it was carried, the baton was carried by Chuck D through Public Enemy, who passed it to Ice Cube to take it back out west, because sooner or later we're gonna have to nip this in the bud. So we're gonna have to find this dude from Chicago coming off Kershaw, but we're gonna have to mirror him with somebody out west coming off Crenshaw. Because when you write them both in cursive, they look damn near the same. Mirror flipping. This is tribal warfare. The tribes fight their war. They challenge us to a conjure war. Curtis Jackson conjure, the unstoppable conjure. The March of the Mayors. Right? They don't even know what I'm talking about. Oh, New Orleans conjure man Curtis Jackson, money getter from day one, gorilla knocker. So he got to come out on the Gorilla Clan.
You talking about 50 Cent?
G Unit. I told you, you got to have a dog in every fight, and you got to know where your dog at in order to collect your motherfucking money. Every one of the chiefs had a job they was born to do, but they don't know what it is. But if they can be true to themselves, they can be seen.
Mm.
And they did their job because I seen them.
They could be authentic, huh?
Yeah. Authenticity. BDL just dropped the clip. Say authenticity is the highest frequency you can vibrate on earth.
Yo, somebody do the research. I want to know how much the Schumann resonance spiked during the Super Bowl. We got to really see the science.
You know what? That's a good idea, Rich. I didn't even check.
Yeah, we got to somebody do that research. Let me know, family. I'm gonna
But
check.
it'll probably be within 3 days after.
Yeah.
You will see the spike. But the Schumann for the Crip Walk, you're not looking for Schumann. You're looking for, they got a Doppler lightning strike map. That's the one you need to look at, because then you can see the activity and where the energy hit at the hardest around the world.
Oh.
You see, they got Koreans and Vietnamese and Japanese doing reenactments. They got Africans doing reenactments of the Super Bowl. Kendrick.
Yeah.
You got hillbillies doing it. You got bikers doing it. You got old mechanics doing it, and they all putting out their TikToks imitating. Just go on TikTok and put in Super Bowl imitation or Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl imitation. You're gonna show all the people doing that. It's around the world. It's not just local. Look, they say 115 million people signed off after the performance, and they said that because of that, people hated the performance so bad that they didn't want to watch the game. That's BS. They left for 2 reasons. In the first half, at the end of the first half, Donald J left. But they stayed 115 million, or it might have been 175 million. I can't remember. But it was over 100 and some million people. Still watched us all the way through to the end of the performance. And then when Kendrick got done, they was gone. And they end up with a second half viewing of about 65 million people. The average Super Bowl attendance, but they said that Kendrick ran everybody off with his performance. I think they came to see Kendrick.
Man, yeah, this is wow. This was one of them ones, y'all.
This is a cultural divide. You can't fake influence. We know our culture. If you from this land, you know when you see the New Orleans getting ready for Mardi Gras, you got 2 options. Start putting on some feathers or second line march steps, practicing. That's it. Or you got to leave. Then that's your other option. Or you got to leave. You can't be down there in their way while they trying to, they tell stories with their clothes, with their feathers. They're telling stories. They got history lessons for other tribes that come down there and just how they dressed. That's not just the Mardi Gras celebration is not all it is to a Mardi Gras Indian. They historians. They telling you what's going on the land. That's why they be trying to villainize it and call it evil all the time. Because they don't want, if there's certain ones of these sisters go down there that ain't never been down there and see that, she gonna wake straight up. They gonna tell her the whole story and it's gonna turn her mitochondria up, and she gonna go back home and she gonna be like, something ain't right. I don't know what it is. But after about a couple weeks, it's gonna click to her and it's gonna be over with. That's to keep us away from it, especially the ones that they call church mothers. The ones that's the church mother, the most powerful sisters in the community. And we thinking that because they in the church, that they from the Jesus story. They ain't from the Jesus story. They from the tribes of the land, and they still carrying out the same function they did in the long house, in the big house, and in the short house. They still doing tribal mother stuff. They just doing it under the color of Christianity now. But you thinking it's Christianity because they doing it, but they ain't doing it where the church came from. The church mothers don't run nothing in Europe. They halfway don't want a woman sitting on the podium in Europe. Male chauvinistic pedophile priest cult. Did I leave out homosexual? That's what they is. They don't like women. That's why they keep marrying drag queens. Like Barbara Bush named Big Buddy. Big linebacker.
Let me I'm gonna get to about 2 questions from the family before we get out of here, because I can't be on here too long tonight. Somebody asked, somebody sent the super chat. They asked, oh, by the way, because I see somebody posted your Cash App. Let me throw rods, because I don't want y'all to follow anybody else's Cash App and it be the wrong one. All right, I just put, be careful donating to other Cash Apps, family. You know, I don't want y'all to donate to the wrong one. But Rod Hayes Cash App, we got 3,200 people in the digital building, so make sure you support this brother for the information that he gave us tonight. His Cash App is $SikApe. That's capital SIK, capital APE. Once again, make sure the spelling is right, family. We don't want this going to the wrong Cash App. Somebody said, "What is your Cash App, Rich?" I'm gonna put it at the bottom of the screen. It's the same name as the channel. $Black Magic 363. Same name as the channel. Same thing. Make sure you support Rod Hayes. Very, very important that when we have individuals like this, that we show the individuals love. And like I said, I just don't want to go into the wrong person. So yeah, we don't want that. But listen, let me get a couple of questions from the family. Somebody with the super chat said, were Moors later called Indians?
In the war, the MUUR Moors is the tribal Moors. The MOOR are the European Moors. But the catch term MOOR included both of them when it became the Conjure War. The Conjure War was the death of Crispus Attucks in the Civil War, first blood in the war.